Well, hey everybody. Me and Abe's coming to you. We're right here at the Gettysburg National Military Park, and we're going to tell you all about it. Well, at least I will. He ain't gonna be able to tell you much, but anyway, we're gonna learn all about Gettysburg today. We're at the national park, and they call it the National Military Park Museum. We're at the Museum and Visitor Center. Look here. We're at the Museum and Visitor Center. So we're gonna go in here and see what we can learn. All right, y'all, so we're inside the visitor center and all that stuff, and they got some really cool stuff in here. Like there's a shard of a piece of cannonball right there, well, right in there. And there's some actual small cannonballs right there that lies in this old tree. Shell fragments, case shot, and canister. That's crazy. Okay, so this tree died because of the war. So they saved this piece and brought it in here for preservation. Alright, so they got a section in here of the artifact collection. And all of this is what we're going to look at. Man, these are buttons, belt plates, and insignias that were collected. Wow. Well, this is the North, son. This is Union. Buttons, belts, plates, and insignias here. Wow. Man, there's no telling how much more is actually out there on the battlefield. Look at that in there, y'all. Somebody got shot right here. Yep, a belt buckle got hit by a bullet. It would have probably killed them. They bled out. And here's South Carolina. Of course, we're from South Carolina. They got the. Look at that. That's cool. Virginia, Georgia, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Louisiana. Alright, these are all weapons that were found on the battlefield and collected. Man, this is crazy. Model 1841. Oh, that's where they made it. Remember I told you they were making weapons in Harper's Ferry? Alright, so here it says, now we are engaged in a great civil war. So Jacob has memorized the Gettysburg Address. He actually quoted it us last night when we were playing a game at the house. We was playing that Monopoly game. But he actually memorized it. That's one phrase in the Gettysburg Address. But right here is South Carolina. It said how many, of course, Union enlistments, 0. Confederate enlistments, there was 76,683. That's a lot. My great-great-grandpa, Asa Patterson, he actually enlisted in the Union forces. He lived in Georgia. 195 Union enlistments and then 135,000 Southern. But I want to see if I think he actually enlisted in the Tennessee regiment. So let me see if we can find Tennessee over here. Yeah, here we go. So my family member, my ancestor, he was one of the ones that enlisted in the Tennessee regiment. 51,225 Union enlistments. He was one of those. Maybe the lighting ain't too bad for you. So here's some of the relics and stuff from the slavery days. Of course, this is handcuffs, and yeah, it was horrible how they treated those people. It was just wrong. They even wrongfully said that slavery was ordained by God, which it wasn't. But they actually have a slave tag here, and that one says Charleston. And he was, it always said the town they were in, the year, what number they were, and what their job was. And he was considered a fruiterer, 1863. But very, very interesting. I've seen some that said like a mechanic and other things like that. A buddy of mine that's metal detected, he's actually found one of those. Those are really neat. I'd love to find one myself. So we were at Harper's Ferry, days ago, and so they got some displays in here of Harper's Ferry and John Brown. That cell door over there on the right is the actual cell door that he was behind before they executed him. That rifle there is one of the rifles that was made in Harper's Ferry, and yeah, interesting. Got some cool relics in here. That brick right there is one of the bricks from the actual building. So during the election, 1860, Abraham Lincoln only got 40% of the vote. His name didn't even show up on many of the ballots in the southern states, and there was 2 Democrats running that was on the same ticket, and so it split the vote. So that's why Abraham Lincoln got the majority vote, even though it was 40%, and so they elected him president. When South Carolina seceded from the Union, this is what they signed. I'm not sure if that's a copy or if that's the real deal, but it says it's on loan from or it's courtesy of Chicago History Museum. But this is their Declaration of Independence of the state of South Carolina. Wow. They signed it December 20th, 1860, right after the election was over. But there's the South Carolina flag. I'm sure it flew over something sometime. So they brought a few relics up here from South Carolina. And here's 4 cannonballs that struck Fort Sumter. 34 hours of bombardment. Wow. That's awesome. The one thing that happened after the war that's required is, or after they seceded, is they had to make their own money and their own stamps and their own military uniforms. And so that's what they did. They made their own everything. All right, so the Confederate General Thomas Stonewall Jackson was accidentally shot by one of his own troops during the Battle of Chancellorsville. They cut his arm off. Well, they hauled him off the battlefield with that right there. They took him to a hospital and they amputated his arm. He died 2 days later, and that bugle was played at his funeral. You know how they found out it was one of his own troops shot him? How? Because of the kind of bullet they were shooting.
I gotcha.
So here's a hat, a Confederate wool and cotton hat, 1862 to 1863. That thing is ain't much left of it. There's an anti-sunstroke cushion. Let's see, number 3 is a Union model, 1858 wool forage cap. Union Confederate. What's number 4? 4 is the Union officer black wool. It ain't blue anymore. I wonder if the color faded on it. This one here is a anti-sunstroke cushion. It said you're supposed to wet it and then put it on your head underneath your hat, and it keeps your head cooler, so that way you wouldn't sweat. But they were wearing wool in the middle of summer. This battle took place in July, so I know it was very, very hot. I did not know that they had stuff like that to keep them cool. Y'all, they've got some really cool relics in here. I mean, even over here, they have a Bible, one of the soldiers' Bibles. His Testament and Psalms, American Bible Association or Society, made. It was published in 1862. That's crazy. And here's some more relics here. I believe that was his Bible. And there's some more relics over here. Canteen and the shoulder scales. Here's some right here as well. You got a artillery button right there, and then his personal pocket watch, or somebody's personal pocket watch. A saddle. That's neat. And then over here you got some more relics. This place is full of relics. They got relics everywhere. There's a Holy Bible right there somebody had. King James too. King James Bible. Wow. Somebody's boots. Somebody's cartridge pouch or cartridge box. There's a remnants of 1st Corps flag, Army of the Potomac. There's some relics down here too. Man, that's so neat. Y'all, we just spent 2.5 hours in the visitor center. Good night. There's a lot of stuff to do in there, a lot of stuff to see in there. And we didn't see it all. The museum portion is we still got to go through over half of the museum portion. And then we didn't even look at the stuff in the gift shop. The cyclorama was awesome. And then the video they show is pretty cool as well. But the cyclorama was really cool. But we're actually gonna go into town here in Gettysburg and eat us some lunch. There's one specific restaurant I want to eat at in there. It's called the Gettysburg. So we're gonna try to go to the Gettysburg for lunch, and then we're gonna go see a couple things in town, and then come back here to the battlefield and do the big tour. So this is what we're doing today. Look at it's actually completely sunny today, but the smoke from Canada makes it look like it's cloudy and foggy. All right, so we were just at the Dobbin house and ate an awesome lunch. I had a really good burger. We was going to go to the burger joint, the Gettysburg, but it don't open till 4 o'clock, and we can't stay here to eat lunch at 4. We was already hungry. But this is the Jenny Wade house, and this is where a young lady got shot and killed the day of the Civil War when the troops were moving through this town. But anyway, this is her right here. This is her right here. There she is. But anyway, this is an old house. It's still got the old keyholes right there. Old house. And then yeah, they built this building here, and it says Civil War building, July 1863. That's interesting. It says it's open.
Right here. There's a hole through the door.
Huh?
You open it, Abby. What are you scared of, ghosts?
It's locked. Well, this is all we're wanting to see anyway. This is where she got shot at. She was apparently just in the house baking bread, and the soldiers come through here and she got shot. But you can see all the bullet holes right here.
You can go in the house because there's signs that say don't touch it. There's more holes.
But there's some serious holes in this brick. Alright, so we've been on this battlefield for a little while, doing this driving tour, and we've passed some, cannons, and we've passed a couple monuments and things, and where one particular piece was on the first day, July the 1st, when some Confederates crossed over a field, and they didn't know it, but behind there was a wall, and there was some Union soldiers back there. Well, they popped up when they got close, and the Union soldiers took out like 900 of them. Of the 1,300 that was of the Confederates, they took out. So there's only 400 that didn't even get hurt. But this is the Confederate side. Of course, you can see a lot of the tourists and tour groups and stuff. But this is where the Confederates were on the day of the big battle, and they crossed over this farm field right here, and they were making their way to those trees over there on the other side. And that's where there was a lot of artillery going on. They were shooting cannons back and forth. But yeah, this is where the Confederates were. Yeah, here's what I was talking about. 1 p.m. on July the 3rd, approximately 150 Confederate cannon opened fire on Cemetery Ridge and Cemetery Hill. I think there is an actual cemetery up there. I think that's why they call it that. Lasted nearly 2 hours and was heard miles away. I bet it was loud. 3 p.m. Confederate General Robert E. Lee watched his battle line. Nearly 12,000 Confederate infantrymen step out across these open fields toward Union troops on Cemetery Ridge. Federal artillery and musketry pelted the advancing Southerners with lead and iron. killing and mangling hundreds. Nearly half of the 12,000 had fallen. Pickett's charge had failed. So we're right here on this battlefield, and this house was in the crossfire, and as you can see, there's a cannonball hole up there. That'd be aggravating. Man, they got a huge memorial monument out here. Look at this thing. It's tall. But they also got names of the soldiers. No, it has their infantry number, has the surgeon. They got a Henry Neff was the surgeon, assistant surgeon, all that stuff, and then sergeant major and all that stuff. Surgeon, is that doctor, surgeon? I don't know. Anyway, they got the private sergeants, corporals, all that stuff, all the names. And this is a Pennsylvania monument, so I'm sure it's just men that fought for the that were Pennsylvanians. But that thing is huge. Anyway, we're overlooking. What I'm understanding is this is Cemetery Ridge, and there's actually a cemetery right up here. And the Confederates were over here on the other side, and that's where we were at a while ago, and they were firing this way. But this is crazy. But I've always wanted to see this battlefield. I really have. I took a little shot, took a couple pictures of Little Round Top. They've actually got that section closed off, but that's an interesting history as well. The Union lost several good generals, and not necessarily a general, but maybe a corporal or some sort of he was some sort of a leader. I think they lost 3 on that hill. But anyway, we're about to wrap this thing up. We're gonna go see the cemetery before it's all said and done, where the soldiers are buried at. But this is a really cool experience, just to actually see where these soldiers died at, where they fought. All right, so we just made it to the Gettysburg National Cemetery, and let's see here if we can learn something here. Yeah, President Lincoln gave his speech here as well. All right, so Jacob knows the entire Gettysburg Address. He learned it in school this past year. He's gonna give you just a little bit of it. He can't say it up here where Abraham Lincoln actually said it, but he can say it right here for us, because they got a silence and respect right here. So if Jacob give it to us, we'll give me about 4 or 5 good lines of it.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We have met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggle here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it will never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated to the task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which we gave the last full measure of devotion. That's all I know. That's all I know.
I'm proud of him. He still remembers that. But we're gonna go up here now, so I'm gonna turn the camera off because they asked for silence and respect. All right, so we finished in our day in Gettysburg eating ice cream. We don't know why, but apparently Gettysburg is known for their ice cream shops. There's a bunch of them up down through the little Main Street area. So, but yeah, we're gonna eat ice cream and go back to the place and spend the rest of our time at home getting things packed up. We're going to DC tomorrow to do the tour inside the Capitol building, and we're going to try to do the trolley tour, do all of the monuments and everything. So hopefully we'll get that video out and let y'all see that. But I hope y'all have a good one. We'll see you. God bless.